What's my anxiety? Eight disabled and neurodivergent young people spoke to us about their unique experiences of anxiety and how they have learned to live with it. Here are their stories. Hannah and Gia.
So I'm Hannah Kate, or Hannah to my friends. This is Gia. I was diagnosed with degenerative disc disease in 2017. Following, literally just went on a run, came home, and my entire back just spasmed. Had an MRI and discovered that my spine is slowly dying, in so much that I've got no bone marrow in a couple of discs. And about 3 months after I had that diagnosis, I was in a car crash, which left me with fibromyalgia, which is my other main disability. So my anxieties definitely relate to my disability, 100%. I've gone from somebody who felt really, really capable, almost a thought point where things didn't take a second thought. You know, if I needed to load the dishwasher or pick something off the floor, I would just do it. Now it's like tools to help me pick things up, or I can't load the dishwasher, I have to wait for my fiance to come home. And so I've now got this anxiety of just everything requires a second thought. There are no habits anymore. Everything is, can I do that? I need to do a load of laundry, but I know if I load it, I'm not going to be able to physically get it on the air. So I have a lot of anxiety around what I am and I'm not capable of anymore. There's also, quite a lot of anxiety around my other half. You know, are they gonna get sick of having to do everything? I mean, he does the laundry, he loads the dishwasher, he cleans the house. And that thing of we're supposed to be spending forever together is forever of having to help me do everything going to get old. We'd literally just met. We'd been together 3 months or something when I discovered I had my disabilities. And so this has been our entire relationship. And he's amazing. He's honestly amazing. But there is that anxiety of, is he going to get fed up with it? Yeah. I've got probably even more anxiety around going out. I mean, things even just as simple as walking this little bundle of joy, that fear of picking up her poop, which is just such an insane thing to be anxious about. But it is really something I do worry about. And also, if anything happened, would I be able to protect her, protect myself? I cancel a lot of friendship gatherings as well, because I have that fear of somebody invited me, for example, to go ice skating recently. And I was like, that sounds great. I used to love ice skating. Like, I lived on ice and on rollerblades. That was my life. And now I instantly said yes, and then went, what if I fall over? What if I get there and the cold makes my back spasm, which happens? And then I cancel with something silly like, something came up, or I'm not well. And there is a lot of anxiety around telling people I have a lot of anxiety. So I would say that my anxieties have changed as I've changed. I think I've always been a person that I have ADHD. I have to plan out everything and I have to put it all on a calendar and have it all written down, or I worry about it. So I've always had that side of me. But I used to be the stage combat, backflipping, fighty person. And then suddenly I find out your back is dying. This was 2017, so 6 years ago, I want to say, was when August it was. I found out in August that I had this issue. And thought, I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure it'll be fine. And then it was then really that I started to realise that this is never going to be fine again. And I think the second that I realised, no, this is forever, there is nothing they can do, was when I started to really get the anxiety. It was almost like a bell went off and I went, oh my God, this is forever. And that's when I started to really start worrying and really start panicking about everything. I think they're all external things that calm my anxiety, that help me. To begin with, it was all my fiance. He knew exactly what to say and when to say it. And then about 2 years ago, I had an appointment with a rheumatologist who said, the best thing for your back and for your panic attacks, get a dog. Because you'll be living for them, not just for yourself. So on the days where you don't think you're capable, this little floofy princess will come in and be like, can we go to the park? And I was finding I was getting out of the house way more. And then we discovered about 6 months after having her that she has anxiety too. And suddenly I was her comfort person and she was my comfort dog. And I think having this really lovely, floofy darling and knowing that she gets panicky too, suddenly I wasn't worrying about my anxiety or my capability. I was worrying about her and living for her, just like the rheumatologist said. Hi, baby. Suddenly, it was almost like my own issues were background noise. And she, I don't even know if it was deliberately, realised, when mum is having an issue, all I need to do is go over and be like, hi. And suddenly I realised that my life wasn't over. The first time we took her in a rehearsal room was out of necessity. We'd had an actor pull out of our show last minute and suddenly I was in the play, which is fabulous. I love it. It's amazing. I wouldn't change it for the world now. But back then we were like, we've had this dog for 6 months. She's a rescue. We don't know how she's going to react, but we have no one who can look after her. We'll try her for the first day. And if she doesn't cope well or she's too distracting, we'll pay a sitter or something. And she came in the first day, looked around and went, oh, this is all right. Said hello to the actors she'd never met before and fell asleep under the table. And then the minute that we were like, okay, now it's time for notes, we sort of let her off the lead and she could see the person that was really struggling because I think they couldn't quite get their head around a certain section. And she pinpointed him, ran over, like jumped onto his lap, like with her front paws and was just like, hi. And he just wept. And just gave her a massive cuddle because I think the tension and the frustration of just not being able to get something. And he gave her a massive cuddle and then she sort of insisted that he play with her for 5 minutes. And after that, he got back on stage having had that moment and snap, got it. And we were all just like, yes! And then, of course, we were all cheering and Gia was like, what's going on? Oh my God, what's going on? And she is, not just Gia the rehearsal room dog, but also Gia the anxiety reducer. She's just like a real tonic. I think the issue with having ADHD, the main issue I had with things like cognitive behavioural therapy, which is retraining your brain to look at things in a different way, was that, you'd have those moments of, and now we're going to have a meditation. And my brain would just be like, squirrel. And so after we would do these meditations together, Christelle would be like, and what did you feel? I was like, I'm sorry, about what? What was the question? So she sort of had to try and tailor these things around me. And she was great. Like the next week, she added into the meditation, if you are feeling distracted, go with it. Don't try and get your brain to focus. because it's not natural to you, and suddenly you're going to be finding meditation really stressful. So if you suddenly think, oh, squirrel, go with it and then bring yourself back. So she did tailor it, bless her heart, and she did. But my brain just couldn't get behind CBT. At which point she was amazing. She then changed my therapy from CBT to sort of trauma responses, because she realised that a lot of my anxiety and a lot of my mental health issues were around the trauma of, 2 diagnoses in a 6-month period, and suddenly I wasn't who I wanted to be anymore. So she did tailor it and she was amazing, and after I got that trauma therapy, it really helped. She made the box fit me rather than making me fit the box. So there are such amazing therapists out there. The access to them is the nightmare, but there are people out there. And the second I realised that there were people out there that could help without trying to fix me, but could help, that's when things started to get better.
A seizure in the gym.
Hello, my name's Andrew. I'm 29 and currently suffer from epilepsy and have between 10 and 15 seizures every single month. While most leave me with bad memories that I wish to lock away for good, here is my story of one seizure that did quite the opposite. I was diagnosed with epilepsy in 2014, and to this day I continue to have frequent seizures. It worsened my anxiety beyond belief, and led to 2 key fears: when seizures will occur, and where they will occur. But of course, one of the worst possible places they could happen is in public. Just a little eye strain can raise all the red flags and put me in danger. With your awareness even partially lost, everywhere becomes a high-risk zone. Luck needs to be on your side. How witnesses would react to it also made me anxious. What if they found it funny? What if they used it as a chance to rob me? These fears peaked more and more as seizures became more and more frequent. And when it came to seizure prevention, my anxieties made me push myself too far within many practices. I grew paranoid over my sleep levels, my water intake, and most notably, my exercise routines. A notable incident of me suffering a tonic-clonic fit whilst using a treadmill in the gym helped me realise this, but it also further eased my anxieties over how people would react to me having these types of seizures. It's weird to think that actually having these seizures in public has been the core form of treatment for my anxiety. But it's just helped me understand more and more that my negative outlook toward other people just isn't fair. There are bad people in this world, yes, but almost everyone I've had seizures around in public has immediately assisted me, called for help, and ensured I am safe. This incident in the gym is ironically a memory I truly treasure, as it was one of the clearest demonstrations to me of good people doing their best to help a complete stranger in need. I learnt to not only have more faith in people, but also to accept the restrictions I have to face in life, hard as it can be. My epilepsy isn't gone for good, my anxiety isn't gone for good, but progress has indeed been made.
Finding strength.
My name is Sarah. I was diagnosed with autism at age 2, and along with that I have anxiety disorder along with dyspraxia as well, which involves my everyday life with anxiety. So how my anxiety affects me at the home. Sometimes I have good days, I can wake up, just get myself sorted and then go. Other days I'm a nervous wreck, don't want to get out of bed. I'm constantly overthinking, thinking, what if this happens? Particularly if something happens at work and then I just want to stay at home, don't want to face anything. I just want to stay in bed and just ignore like what's happening really. If I'm ever in that place, I just try to remind myself that my friends and family love me. They accept me for who I am. Not so much now, but like a few years back when it was really bad, I couldn't leave the house without like either my mum or my dad, because I was worried. I was worried about people judging me. I was worried about like if I'd done something like pick out clothing, like, oh, what if, like, oh, why are you out like that? I was worried constantly how people would judge me. Anxiety does, when it comes to the social aspects, it stops me from dating and meeting new people because I'm just scared of the outcome. I'm scared that I will feel really awkward. Like I won't be like myself that I show to my close friends and family. I'm a entirely different person. If I'm like going to new places and new people, I'm not entirely myself, and I just try and avoid it altogether, which I know it's not good, and I'm learning to push that now. When I finished uni, I found a part-time job. I thought that's great. I'm in a job that but it was a bit really intense at times. They had such high expectations to you to sell certain items within a day, and if you don't meet those expectations, they just look down on you, sort of era. Not everyone in that workplace was like that, but some of them really drilled hard and didn't have that not had that best knowledge about anxiety or mental health really. So if I came into work feeling a bit down and then I get shouted at the manager, I would just cry right there and then. It was just not a nice place to be in that aspect. I found a really great internship that came out at a university I went to, which was great. I applied, I had an interview there, and it wasn't a long internship, it was paid, but it got me into the career that I am in today because of that. And yeah, it was just a really great opportunity, and I learned so much. I grew in confidence in that. And then this job came up with being an art centre assistant as well. And from my experience of my internship, it got me this job, and I just flourished after that because I work with we're a small team, but we work really well together. I know I can always go to my manager and my colleagues if I'm feeling low or worried about something. I don't feel judged, which is, compared to the first job I had, feels fantastic to know that I'm not judged by my anxiety. They are just grateful for me, for my skills and the commitment that I have to the centre. I do go to music gigs as well, and that's entirely different because I'm more into the music. I'm not so worried about the crowds. I'm mostly just there for the music. It's great if my friends are with me as well. I like going to music gigs just to be in that moment. And if I make new friends as well, that's great as well. I go to festivals as well and see all my favourite bands. So yeah, I'm just trying to push myself more. I think music just helps because I listen to metal and rock, and it's just more of a friendly community when you go to like alternative musics, whether it's rock or metal. It's just more of a friendly atmosphere. Yes, the sound of a mosh pit might sound scary to some, but if someone falls over, helps them right back up. There's no malice or anything. Everyone's just a community when it comes to music gigs, and that's really nice to see. So I don't feel as nervous when I go to music gigs because I know we're all just there for the same reason as seeing the band and in having a good time. How I could explain anxiety myself is it's just something hovering over you constantly. That's how I would describe. And it's like this big cloud that you just want it to go away, but it's still there. And it's whether you want to get up and do something, your anxiety stops you and be like, no. Both my parents have been really good and supportive. I don't know how I'd be without them, in all honesty. Makes me crying it makes me feel lucky that I have such a great family and that support. And my mum said to me that she's so proud of me, of how far I've come. Because the doctors told her that I would never achieve anything. It was much a black and white view. They literally told her she wouldn't do anything. She'll go to probably be cared for. But my mum and dad were determined to get me the right help and get me the right support, which I'm forever grateful for them, even if they do drive me crazy at times.
The little things.
Hello, my name is Louis. I am 26 years old and I'm autistic. I also have severe depression, anxiety and ADHD. I was diagnosed at around 16 years old. I was in and out of SEN groups as a kid. Being in these groups led to a lot of bullying in school and meant I felt like a bit of a social outcast for a few years. I had to learn how to mask to properly blend in. This led to me feeling a lot of anxiety about being outside because of how I would look. So I was pretty nervous for a long time. I arguably still am. I have to be very socially aware about what I look like in public. When I go outside, there's a bunch of things running through my mind at that one time. It's a constant flow of thought. It's usually what could go wrong at each step. From the start of the day, it's, Did I wake up on time? Did I miss a meeting? I'll check my calendar and I'll still be unsure. It takes me longer to do certain things than other people, and I'll end up running late for the next thing that I have planned. I need to know if the dog has been fed or walked. I worry about him a lot. I worry about getting dressed and showered. I worry if people would judge me for being in my gym trousers or for looking too tired. It's hard to remember to do the little things when I forget the big things. Going outside is a difficult one. I'm constantly thinking about being late to appointments or anxious about meeting friends. I worry so much about the bus being on time and where to sit, when the bus will stop, how long it will stop, whether or not to eat, and how much to eat. Am I eating enough or too little? Am I eating too messily? Am I taking too much time in one place? I wonder if I am making too much noise or disturbing anyone. It's just the constant flow of thinking of the worst case scenario. Even with friends, I'm always worried if I've said the wrong thing or have upset someone. I worry about if they like me or if they're just tolerating me. I hate that I have to constantly question myself and if my friends like me. It hurts so much. I've never been amazing at reading off social cues or sarcasm that well, so my feelings often get hurt and I just end up hating myself. I hated having that mentality in the workplace as well. It wasn't helping me at all. Having to mask all the time to fit into the company and help customers. I'm glad I'm in a better place now, and having medication helps me get through my day, and my friends help me too. When I felt like I wanted to run away or escape my feelings, or life felt overwhelming or stressful, I wished hard and wanted a TARDIS to come warping in, an open hand, and the doctor to come and whisk me away, to fly away into time and space.
Thinking outside the box.
My name's Amelia Shipton. I am an actor and I have dyslexia, dyscalculia and dyspraxia. I think it can be quite challenging with those extra stresses and anxieties because normally I'm quite a confident and outgoing person. So for someone that perhaps isn't aware, so for example, dyslexia, dyspraxia and dyscalculia is an invisible disability, so people won't know that I would suffer from something like that. So I think it can be quite frustrating because I have a goal, I know where I want to go, I know what I want to achieve, but perhaps there are those barriers that come into play based around what society presents to me. So I think the thoughts that I experience perhaps are very challenging. So for example, I've got an audition, I'm planning my route to London. Not only have I got to think about, the stress of having an audition and being an actor, but it's getting on the right train, making sure that I know where I'm going, reading the script as well, and just kind of processing all the information that's going on around me. So for example, when I go to Waterloo, there's so many kind of looking on a screen and trying to find the train I need to go when I'm going home, or even just on the underground. I can't do the underground. I can't see the map. It's just a load of lines, and I'm sure that's the same for many other people, but I think for me it's kind of times by 10 the struggles that come with it, because it's not just a map that shows me where to go, it's nothing, it's completely nothing to me. I think having dyslexia as a university student has been quite challenging at times. There's quite a big difference at school than there is at university. There's kind of quite a big jump within academia and writing, and then also managing this kind of whole change of university. Like for example on TikTok, like people do their day in the life of a university student. Here's me on my laptop, here's me writing 2,000 words, 3,000 words, 5,000 words, and I think, wow, I wish I could do that. I wish that could be such an easy process. Obviously I'm not neurotypical, so I can't make an assumption for somebody or talk for somebody, but the way I view it is, they also have experienced difficulties like anybody does with writing, but I think my approach to it is more of a multidisciplinary approach to writing. So I will break it down into blocks, I will colour code it, I will look at different scents in my writing. So an example of that might be when I'm using Shakespeare. So I'm obviously an acting student, and we do lots of different kind of creative explorations within plays and that kind of thing. So an example, Shakespeare. I obviously really struggle with that, being dyslexic. I can barely talk my own language, let alone Shakespeare being almost a whole new language to myself. So the way I broke down that text and that assignment was I looked at it through a multidisciplinary approach. So I looked at my 5 senses. I split the monologue and the writing and the text into different sections. I colour coded it. I had different scents associated with that character. I looked at materials and fabrics so that I could kind of process that information in a way that really got into my body. I think for me it's really about kind of kinesthetic learning and physical learning. The main thing that I think is so vital in dyslexia awareness, in neurodivergency awareness, is talking about dyslexic burnout, which I don't believe is spoken enough or has much kind of awareness around. And perhaps you are dyslexic and you experience this and you don't realise that it's actually dyslexic burnout. And what it is this kind of sense of feeling completely overwhelmed and catastrophizing that, you know, when I have an assignment, for an example, and I know exactly what it is that I want to say, and it's just like this wall comes up and I just can't get the words out. And I think that's the most frustrating thing, when you've been working so hard and you're almost masking this dyslexia, especially at university life, when you're surrounded by lots of different peers and you're in lectures and you're somebody that, you know, is quite intellectual but isn't able to always articulate what it is that you want to say. And that, I think, is when it's incredibly frustrating and incredibly overwhelming. And that is when I experience dyslexic burnout, because it's this sense of, I know what it is that I want to say, but all the walls come up, and it's just trying to kind of break those walls down again. And if you are masking or you are working really hard, that's when dyslexic burnout happens. Having dyspraxia feels like you are fighting with your body and you want to kind of achieve a certain goal or activity, and sometimes your body or the coordination doesn't kind of quite catch up with the message that your brain is telling you. So an example of this might be when I was at school and I was playing a game, like a ball game, for example, and being in a playground, I would never be able to catch balls or kind of join in with the games that perhaps my peers were playing. Also being in a school environment and a playground, I used to be terrified that I was going to be knocked over because I just didn't have the awareness of spatial awareness. And still now, especially when I'm driving, I think I can't fit through it, and like 3 buses couldn't fit through there. Dyspraxia affects my driving hugely in my everyday life because I tend to not really know where I am. I don't really have a very good sense of direction. I have a sat-nav where I kind of put everywhere I go to ensure that I don't get lost. I'm 23 and my parents are on my Find My Phone and my iPhone purely to assist me with driving. And you know, when I arrive home from driving, like, everyone kind of cheers that I've got back in one piece, and that I found home. And I think there's a lot that comes with it, especially as I've got older and people asking for lifts. And when you're being given direction with dyspraxia and dyslexia, it's about processing the information someone's given you, also using your spatial awareness and then your sense of direction. So if someone's telling me to turn left, I'm most likely going to be turn right instead. Let's say I have a deadline, I've got to be somewhere at a certain time, I've gone the wrong way, I don't know where I am, I'm completely lost now, I can't go on my phone because I'm driving, so I've got to try and find a route to go somewhere. That's when I think, like, I almost get kind of overwhelmed by that, because again, I'm not on track. I have a fear of being late. I think, like, the biggest thing with dyspraxia, when you are trying to reach a certain destination and driving, I have to give myself like double time to get there, which then can often cause more anxiety or take further out of my day to get there. In terms of dyslexia, dyspraxia, dyscalculia, or anything, if you or your child or someone you know has been diagnosed with it, I think it's so important to remind yourself that it really shouldn't be viewed, I believe, it really shouldn't be viewed as something wrong with you. It simply is just a difference. It's these labels, and some people find labels really helpful, and that's fantastic. But there's also an element of not just this big learning disorder, because I don't believe it should be a disorder. Yes, there are challenges, there's a lot of hurdles I've had to overcome, but I also believe there's a lot of positives that come down to neurodivergencies that enable me to excel in life that probably I wouldn't have had I not been dyslexic. And I'm so actually grateful to have these neurodivergencies, because it's made me the person I am, and it's enabled me to achieve all the things that I desire, and will continue to push me to excel in what I want to do in life. So if you are somebody that has been diagnosed, or you are supporting people that have, please don't view it as a negative. Embrace who you are, be confident in who you are, and everything will work out in the end.
A challenging game.
Hi, my name's Kieran McGarry. I am a general doer of acting and different creative things. Disability-wise, I have an nystagmus and I'm incredibly short-sighted. I'm registered as severely sight-impaired. I've also been diagnosed with anxiety disorder and depression. A lot of the things that come about at home are due to things that come from insecurity. So I have a wife who is very good in the fact that she takes things that I can't do because of my disability and is able to do them. Things like washing up is a good example, because I can do the physical task of washing up, but there is always the chance that when I do it, I'm going to miss things when that's done. So my wife will do it so that I don't do it, miss something, and then she has to go over and do it anyway. In that way, we're able to, make sure that those tasks are all done. But that doesn't mean that I don't feel this kind of anxiety that I am somehow a burden on her because I can't do the things that she needs me or wants me to do, because I'm the one who doesn't work as much, which means I would normally take over a lot more of those duties, but I don't. I am always scared of going somewhere for the first time. I have to meticulously plan the route where I'm going. I have to get specific buses, specific trains. I have to know exactly where and when those things are going to happen, so that I know I can do it. And even then, I still need someone with me the first time I go anywhere, because I don't trust in myself that I, with my eyesight, can do it without A, getting lost, or B, putting myself in danger by, crossing a road at the wrong time, or getting on the wrong train, or, and all of those types of things. Also, the time of day is a big problem. I'm fine going out in the daytime, usually, if I know where I've been, if it's a place I've been before. But if it's dark, then again, I am most comfortable having someone with me. I can do it on my own, but it's not something I choose to do, and it's only done in emergencies. Also, on the anxiety side of things, I'm always feel closed in. If I feel closed in, I become really anxious, because I feel like I can't escape. I feel like that something bad is going to happen, or I'm going to trip over, or I'm going to fall over and someone's going to, hurt me or kick me in the head or whatever because I fall over. I cannot recognize if people have bad intentions. I've been mugged multiple times because I haven't been able to tell when those things are about to happen. And now anybody can get mugged, but when it's obviously like a surprise, it's even worse, because suddenly you haven't even noticed these people coming for you. And so that can be and has been quite traumatic. And so now I have that lingering feeling all the time when I go out, especially, again, this is part of the reason why nighttime is such a problem, is that I always feel like I'm on edge. I always feel like I have to watch my step or watch where I'm going, looking behind me, looking at everyone with suspicion, despite the fact that, most people are not going to mug you. I'm quite happy to go to hospitals and different places and socialise with people. That's never been an issue. The only issue sometimes is if I'm doing something that people might find a bit strange, for someone to do that has the disability I have. The best example I can give is that I play table tennis. Now, if you would ask most people, they might balk at the idea of someone who is registered severely sight impaired playing table tennis, as it's a sport that requires a lot of hand-eye coordination. And for me, the first time I went, yeah, it was slightly weird, simply because I had that idea of people thinking, oh, are they gonna, is he gonna be able to play? Is he gonna even be able to do it? They might find it stupid, or they might find it laughable, and the idea of being laughed at is something that definitely kind of feeds into my own anxieties and insecurities about my disability. But going out and actually talking to people and socializing with people and, you know, going out and about and doing things, I've never thought to myself once that I can't do something. You know, sometimes the act of getting there to do it, that might be a problem. But the idea of doing it itself, I've always been of the opinion that I'm going to try anything. If it doesn't work and I can't do it, then I'm not going to fret too much about that. But most of the time I can. I've played table tennis for nearly 2 years, and I am as good, sometimes better than the people that are there who are sighted. I play in a fully sighted league for table tennis. As a visually impaired person, it is a challenging game, and that's part of the fun. Once I get to the live centre, I have a card that gets me through the barriers that stop you from getting into the back part where the courts are. Now, sometimes where we play changes. So sometimes it's in one of the sports halls, sometimes it's in the performance gym, which is at the back. And when it's not in either of those, all I do is ask the person, where is table tennis today? At the reception, and they'll say, it's here. And if I don't know where that place is, I will simply ask them, oh, can you take me to that please, because I've got a visual impairment. And most of the time, they'll just take me there. Once I'm there, it's pretty much, there's no real issues. I know where the tables are, I know how to use them, I know how to take them down or put them up. You always do that with someone anyway. 2 people are always putting the tables up or putting the tables down for safety. And then, yeah, everything's pretty easy from that point on. Improving every week, finding new shots to play, beating people that I haven't beat before, because there's a lot of people, different people that you can play of different levels. So as I've played, I've started to feel, oh, actually I'm getting closer to beating that person. Now I'm beating that person, right? And then they're improving to try and beat me, and it's a constant case of there being, you know, people changing their styles to try and, you know, beat you, or you changing your style to try and beat them. So, I mean, overall, I do things because I enjoy them. If I didn't enjoy them, I wouldn't do them. And I enjoy it, and so I've kept doing it. And once I stop enjoying it, I'll stop doing it. But that hasn't happened yet.
My happy place.
Hello, my name's Bryony, I'm 24. I have cerebral palsy, right hemiplegia, learning disability and mental health conditions such as anxiety, depression, PTSD and dissociative seizures. In my spare time I enjoy going horse riding with my local Riding for Disabled group and looking after all my animals at my house. So when I go outside in the community, I can have seizures which look epileptic, and being out in the community I can get very anxious because I'm with people I've never met and I think everyone's looking at me, which can make my seizures worse. I have to make sure that I'm with someone all the time, because if I'm in a queue of people, I think everyone's talking about me and looking at me or laughing at me, and I find travelling on public transport very difficult. So I have to have someone with me, and I find especially trains can be quite loud and busy, and you have to be quite quick, and I can be quite slow, so that can trigger my seizures, which then makes my anxiety worse. If I'm at home and I get told that I'm going to somewhere I haven't been before, I can get quite anxious because I have to be there on time, but I don't know the place, I don't know like the route that I'm going to go on. So I have in the past looked up the places that I'm going to go to and looked at just some pictures just so I can familiarise myself with what the building looks like and what I'm looking for, just to try and make it a little bit less stressful. With my anxiety, it's a day-to-day thing, so some days are better than others, but there are times where I'm too anxious, so I won't go out and I won't go to the shop, or I won't go with my friends to a restaurant if it's like someone's birthday. I have to have quite a lot of encouragement, like it's going to be okay, and reassurance. It can get very I feel like very closed off with the world some days, so I'm like in a bubble and I can't seem to get out of that bubble, but I need to do things, so it's sort of, I feel stuck, but it's like I want to do something but I can't, so it's quite hard for me to like tell people and explain to people how I'm feeling, because to them sometimes they're like, yeah, but it's just this, but to me it's like a massive thing. To calm my anxieties and reassure me, I have a few strategies. So one of them would be talking to my support worker, or my mum, or a friend. My animals really help, so just like being with my dog, going out for a walk, seeing pictures of places that I'm going to, maybe like in a restaurant, I tend to look at the menu before I go out, so when I go there, I know what I'm ordering and I know what I want, so I don't have to look at the menu because I get so stressed that the words just get jumbled and the letters, and then I panic and then I can't decide what to have, and then that causes me to be more stressful and tearful, and then I'll need to leave. But that's one of the big things I found with menus and restaurants. If you have a look before you go and you're like, yeah, I want that and that, and then always have like a backup plan in case they don't have what you wanted. So I'm 24 now, but I started riding at my local stables when I was about 9. I got into it because my mum had found out about it, and I did a bit of riding beforehand, and I was on the waiting list, and I just went for an assessment and then never really looked back. RDA means Riding for the Disabled Association. It's a charity, and they have stables all across the UK. They are for people who want to learn to horse ride or be with horses in a therapeutic way, and all the members will have some sort of disability, and it's for all ages and abilities as well. RDA helped me a lot with my anxieties, especially understanding myself, because I've always had anxious thoughts growing up. So when I was telling people that I had a disability, the horses really helped, because that was the one place where I felt I could just be me and I didn't have to explain anything, and I didn't have to explain it again and again and again, which would be quite difficult sometimes. The riding also helps because of my seizures and feeling tense. It's sort of like physio as well, so it helps me to just relax and go with the flow, and the horses just take you for who you are, really, which is really nice. And with riding, we focus on what we can do rather than what we can't do, which I find really helpful because it's so positive and everyone's positive and the whole atmosphere is positive. So it's a very happy place and it's not got negativity, which really helps, because when people are negative I tend to worry more because I'm always thinking something bad's going to happen. So when you can just be happy, it kind of helps me to feel calm and relaxed rather than tense. So anxiety, to me, I best way to describe it of, it's like you're stuck but you're trying to move forward. My mum used to say when I was younger, if you've got worries, pretend that you put them in the balloon and then you let them go. But I could never let them go, and that was kind of the whole point of my anxiety. I couldn't let things go. I just had them in my head and I couldn't stop thinking about them, which then made me stress, and I didn't want to do things. I think people, because you can't really see anxiety, so people didn't really know what it was, and then when you hear the word anxiety, it kind of made it feel a little bit better. But also I think the stigma around anxiety is, oh my gosh, I must have like a mental health problem, and it's not always that. So I think there's different ways people can interpret anxiety, but to me it's when you can't function as well as you think you could, and it's always changing, so it's daily.
Sugar glass.
I'm Sam, I'm 22 years old, and I have autism and PTSD. PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder, develops in some people who have experienced something scary or life-threatening. Autistic people are often diagnosed and are more vulnerable to this disorder. People on the outside tend to think that trauma gives a person thick skin, makes them stronger. In reality, most of us feel the opposite way. Our anxiety can increase dramatically, and everyday tasks can be harder to get through. For me, personally, I felt fragile. All it takes is a sound, a word, sometimes not even that, for everything to fall apart again, for everything to come back. It's been so long, still no peace I can find. From the moment the sun sets, it's all that's on my mind. I know I was there. I know I survived. Where's the thick skin I was told I'd gain? Now everything crumbles in my hands like sugar glass and leaves not a trace of physical pain. I'm made of sugar glass that comes crashing down. Just one chip in my skin and it shatters with no sound. Everything happens for a reason, they say. It was a lesson you had to face. But there was no lesson that needed to be taught. I just wanted to be safe. Though all that's left are broken pieces of whom I used to be, I find myself picking up shards again, longing for a future that I can't see. Someday the cracks will fade, and though memories remain from the past, I'll forever keep picking up the pieces from the sugar glass.